project management exam from PMI is a challenging exam. It's made up of 200 questions. Candidates get 4 hours to take it. And a lot of the folks who have taken the exam in the past, including myself for that matter, have really found that the more experience you have as a project manager is not necessarily helpful in taking the exam, because we've learned how to do things within our environments and we know what works. And what works is not necessarily what the PMBOK describes for us. And so, as with any certification exam, PMI wants to know whether or not you know the answers they expect you to know on the exam. And as you study, that's what you've got to keep in mind. That your experience is going to be valuable, but not always going to be helpful in leading you to the correct answer on the exam. The exam is going to focus on 5 areas: planning, initiating, planning, executing, monitoring and controlling, and closing, which of course are PMI's 5 process groups. The majority of those 200 questions will come out of the planning, executing, and monitoring and controlling process groups. And so it's very important that we always prepare to know those processes, the processes that come from those 3 groups. A lot of times we prepare for exams like this by memorizing things. And that helps, but only to a limited extent. We really need to prepare for this exam in terms of application. How do we apply these processes in order to get the desired outcomes? And in doing that, then memorization isn't enough. We have to also understand the connections between the processes. Now, one of the things that PMI did for us with the 5th edition of the PMBOK, which is very helpful, is they established a rule that says you can't have an input to a process unless it comes as an output from some other process. So as we study, one of the things we want to key on is, where did the inputs for this process come from? What are they the output of? Which processes? So that we are connecting processes with one another in a flow of activity through the management of our project. Other things that we need to keep in mind is that we're taking a multiple choice exam with this particular exam, and that's not similar to what we do on a daily basis. We write emails and memos and we produce reports and we run meetings and have conversations with folks. We don't pick from a list of potential answers. So we need some practice with taking multiple choice exams again. Hands down, the most consistent tip that exam takers give others is take practice exams, and take as many practice exams as you possibly can. Go out on the web, query for PMP prep or PMP test questions. You'll get hundreds of hits. Go to our Knowledge Center and at globalknowledge.com, and we've got several assessments and so forth there that you can get access to and use, but the more you can get, the better. Other tips are, use mnemonic devices. If they work for you, come up with mnemonics to help you remember things. For example, you often hear IPEC, I-P-E-C-C, as a way to remember initiating, planning, executing, monitoring, controlling, and closing as the 5 process groups. So those kinds of devices become very helpful as well. You also want to make sure you're prepared to take an exam that's going to last 4 hours. Most of us don't have a lot of experience sitting and doing one thing with total focus for 4 straight hours. So you need to, as you take your practice exams, gradually increase the number of questions you're using in those practice tests to ensure that you're increasing your endurance over the life of the time you have available. And you want to take them in a variety of environments, because the testing centers are not necessarily ideal testing environments. People get up and walk around, they come in and start tests next to you or finish tests before you're done and get up and leave. You have people who have nervous habits and tap on the desk with their pencil. You have environments where it's very cold because they're trying to keep the heat from all the computers from creating a problem. So try a variety of venues. I used to go take practice tests at Starbucks, at the public library, just so I had distractions and could get used to trying to move them out of my consciousness as I was taking the exam. The test will be predominantly comprised of situational questions. This is what was happening on your project. What should you do now? And so take as many of those. As you learn the definitions of your processes, think about how to put them into a situational context to remember them.